The fluorescent lights above me flicker with that familiar tired hum, and I sit here in this cold plastic chair, my bones aching with every breath I take, wondering how life has brought me to this moment. The hospital hallway stretches before me like a tunnel with no end, white walls that smell of disinfectant and broken promises. My hands tremble as I fold them in my lap, these hands that have scrubbed floors, washed dishes, pressed linens, and held a baby boy who once looked up at me with eyes full of wonder and whispered that he wanted to heal people when he grew up. I am 60 years old, and I have never felt more invisible than I do right now, sitting outside my own son's office, waiting for someone to tell me whether he will see me. The irony cuts deeper than any scalpel ever could. I cleaned these floors. Not this exact hospital, but ones just like it, back in London, back when my knees were still strong and my heart was still whole. I would mop the corridors at night, pushing my bucket past sleeping patients, past exhausted nurses, past doctors who walked by without seeing me, and I would think about my Michael, my beautiful boy, sleeping at home with his textbooks scattered around him like fallen soldiers. I would think about how one day he would walk these halls in a white coat, and people would look at him with respect, and all my invisible years would suddenly mean something. Now I sit here, and he walks past me every day, and I am still invisible. The cough that has lived in my chest for 3 months rattles through me again, and I press my hand against my ribs, feeling the sharp pain that has become my constant companion. I should have come sooner. I know this. But there is something about being a mother that makes you wait, that makes you tell yourself it will pass, that makes you prioritize everyone else's needs until your own body becomes a stranger you no longer recognize. I waited because I did not want to bother him. I waited because I remembered how busy he always said he was. I waited because some foolish part of me still believed that if I truly needed him, he would come without being asked. That is what mothers do, is it not? We believe in our children even when they have given us no reason to. We hold on to the memory of who they were, unable to accept who they have become. My mind drifts backward, as it often does now, to that small flat in Brixton where Michael and I lived after his father left. The walls were thin enough to hear our neighbors arguing, the radiator worked only when it felt generous, and the window in the kitchen was held together with tape that I replaced every winter. But it was ours. I would come home from my first job at the hotel, change quickly, eat a piece of bread with butter if we had any, and then leave for my second job at the hospital cleaning service. Michael was 12 when I started working nights. Old enough to be alone, I told myself. Old enough to heat the soup I left for him, to do his homework by the dim lamp in our sitting room, to put himself to bed. I would leave notes for him on the kitchen table. Eat your vegetables. I love you. Make me proud. And he did. Oh, he did. He was brilliant in a way that still amazes me, the way some children simply shine with an inner light that has nothing to do with their circumstances. His teachers would tell me at parents' evenings that Michael was exceptional, that he had a gift, that with the right opportunities, he could become anything he wanted. I would nod and smile and think about the electricity bill I could not pay that month, and I would go home and work another shift, because opportunities do not come free, and if my son was going to have them, I would carve them out of the stone of my own exhaustion. I remember the first time he told me he wanted to be a doctor. He was 14, sitting at our small table, his biology textbook open in front of him, and he looked up at me with those serious brown eyes, his father's eyes, though I tried not to think about that, and he said, "Mom, I want to help people. I want to make them better when they're sick. Like a doctor." My heart swelled so large I thought it might burst through my chest. I knelt beside him and took his hands in mine, and I said, "Then you will be one, my darling. You will be the best doctor this country has ever seen." He smiled then, a real smile, the kind that crinkled the corners of his eyes and made him look like the little boy he still was underneath all that seriousness. And he made me a promise that night, a promise I have carried with me every day since. He said, "Mom, when I become a doctor, you'll never suffer again. I'll take care of you. I'll make sure you never have to work another night shift, never have to worry about money. I promise." I believed him. God help me, I believed every word. The years that followed blur together in my memory now, a long stretch of sacrifice that I never counted because I never wanted him to feel the weight of it. I skipped meals so he could have new books. I wore the same coat for 7 winters so he could have proper clothes for 6th form. When he got into medical school that glorious, impossible day when the letter arrived and he tore it open with shaking hands and we both cried in our tiny kitchen, I sold everything I had of value. My mother's ring. The pearl earrings my grandmother left me. A small painting that had hung above my bed since childhood. I sold them all without a moment's hesitation because his future was worth more than any object could ever be. I took out loans I knew I would be paying back for decades. I worked a 3rd job on weekends, cleaning offices in the city, my hands cracked and bleeding from the chemicals, my back screaming with every movement. And I never told him. I never wanted him to know how close we were to drowning, because I needed him to focus on his studies, to believe that everything was fine, to carry no burden except the weight of his own potential. The decision to move to America came when he was 26, already finished with his training in London, already a qualified doctor with a future that could have flourished anywhere. But he wanted more. He wanted the opportunities that America could offer: better research programs, higher salaries, a chance to build something extraordinary. And so I followed him. What else could I do? He was all I had. I sold the flat in Brixton, left behind every friend I had ever known, packed my entire life into 2 suitcases, and boarded a plane to a country where I knew no one and nothing. I told myself it was an adventure. I told myself I was starting fresh at 54 years old. But the truth was simpler and sadder: I could not bear to be apart from him. He was not just my son, he was the meaning of my life, the reason I had endured every hardship, the proof that all my suffering had been worthwhile. Those first years in America were harder than I expected. Michael was busy establishing his career, working long hours at the hospital, building a reputation that would eventually make him one of the most respected cardiologists in the city. I found work where I could: cleaning houses for wealthy families, helping at a local bakery, taking in alterations for neighbors who needed their clothes mended. I lived in a small apartment 40 minutes from Michael's new house, the house he bought with Sarah, the woman he married 2 years after we arrived. I was not invited to help choose the house. I was not asked my opinion on Sarah, though I could see from the beginning that she looked at me the way people look at inconveniences they cannot avoid. She was polite in that cold American way that I have never quite understood, all smiles and empty words, never once calling me mom or reaching for my hand or asking about my life. She came from money, Sarah did. Her parents had paid for her education, her car, her first apartment. She had never worked a night shift in her life, never scrubbed a floor, never felt the particular shame of counting coins in a grocery store line. And she made sure I knew it. Not with words, she was too clever for that, but with small gestures, brief silences, the way she would wince slightly when I used the wrong fork at dinner. I tried to tell myself it did not matter. I tried to focus on my son, on the few hours I spent with him each month, on the grandchildren I hoped would come and bring us all closer together. But slowly, so slowly that I almost did not notice it happening, Michael began to change. Or perhaps he had always been changing, and I had simply refused to see it. He became busier and busier, his calls growing shorter, his visits more infrequent. He would forget my birthday and then apologize with a bouquet of expensive flowers delivered by a stranger. He would cancel our Sunday dinners at the last minute, texting me from the hospital, or so he claimed that an emergency had come up. I made excuses for him because that is what mothers do. He is saving lives, I told myself. He is important. He is everything I raised him to be. But there was a voice in the back of my mind, a small and wounded voice, that whispered other things. That whispered he was ashamed of me. That whispered I no longer fit into the life he had built. That whispered I had done my job, and now I was no longer needed. The cough started 3 months ago, a small tickle at first, nothing to worry about. Then it grew deeper, more persistent, keeping me awake at night, leaving me breathless after climbing the stairs to my apartment. I ignored it because I have always ignored my own body's complaints. There was never time to be sick when I was raising Michael, no money for doctors, no one to take over my shifts. I learned to push through pain the way other people push through inconvenience, gritting my teeth and carrying on because there was simply no alternative. But this was different. This cough had claws. It dug into my chest and refused to let go, and soon there was blood on my handkerchief, small spots at first, then larger ones that I rinsed out in the sink so I would not have to look at them. I knew I should see a doctor. I knew I should tell Michael. But every time I picked up the phone to call him, I heard Sarah's voice in the background, or his secretary's voice telling me he was in surgery, or the long silence of an unanswered ring. And I would put the phone down and tell myself I would try again tomorrow. Today, I stopped making excuses. The pain in my chest woke me before dawn, a sharp and terrible thing that made me cry out in my empty apartment, and I knew with the certainty of a mother's intuition that something was deeply wrong. I got dressed in my best clothes, a blue dress I bought for Michael's graduation from his American residency program, a cardigan that hides how thin my arms have become, and I took a taxi to his clinic. His clinic. Those words still fill me with pride, even now, even here in this cold hallway where I have been waiting for over an hour. He built this place from nothing, from the dreams we dreamed together in that small flat in Brixton, and seeing his name on the sign outside, Dr. Michael Harrison, cardiology, made my heart ache with a complicated love that I cannot put into words. I told the receptionist I was his mother. She looked at me with confusion, as if she did not know he had one, and then she made a phone call and told me to wait. So I waited. I am still waiting. Doctors and nurses walk past me, their white coats rustling, their shoes squeaking on the floor I once would have cleaned. None of them see me. I am just an old woman in a plastic chair, my breath wheezing, my hands clutched around my handbag, which contains everything I need and nothing I want. There is a photograph in there, an old one, creased and faded, of Michael at his graduation from medical school in London. I am standing beside him, my face tired but radiant, my hand on his arm. I look so proud. I look so certain that everything had been worth it. I look at that photograph sometimes and wonder who that woman was, that woman who believed her son would never let her suffer. The door to Michael's office opens, and for a moment my heart leaps like it has been waiting for this its whole life. But it is not Michael who emerges. It is a young nurse, a woman with kind eyes and a clipboard, and she walks toward me with that careful expression people use when they are about to deliver bad news. "Mrs. Harrison," she asks, and I nod, though I stopped being Mrs. Harrison 25 years ago when Michael's father left us for a woman he worked with. I have never corrected anyone who uses the name because it is still Michael's name, and anything that connects me to him feels worth keeping. "Dr. Harrison is very busy right now," the nurse says, her voice gentle but final. "He's asked me to take your information and have one of our other physicians see you." I stare at her, my mind struggling to understand. One of our other physicians. As if I am a stranger. As if I am anyone at all. "But I am his mother," I say, and my voice comes out smaller than I intended, almost a whisper. The nurse's face flickers with something pity, perhaps, or embarrassment, and she touches my arm lightly, a gesture of comfort that I do not want. "I understand," she says. "But he has a very full schedule today. Dr. Patel is excellent, and she can see you in about 20 minutes. I should argue. I should stand up and walk to his door and demand that he see me, demand that he look at me, demand that he remember who I am and what I have done for him. But I do not have the strength. The cough rises in my chest again, and I press my handkerchief to my mouth, and when I pull it away, there is more blood than before, bright red against the white cotton. The nurse sees it, and her expression changes, becomes more urgent, and she calls for someone to bring a wheelchair. I do not want a wheelchair. I want my son. I want him to walk out of that office and kneel beside me the way I knelt beside him when he was a child, and I want him to take my hands and tell me everything will be all right. I want him to be the doctor he promised he would be, the one who would make sure I never suffered again. But the door to his office stays closed, and I am wheeled away down the hallway by strangers who do not know my name. The examination room is cold and bright, and I sit on the paper-covered table, my feet dangling like a child's, waiting for Dr. Patel to arrive. The room smells of disinfectant, that sharp chemical scent that takes me back instantly to all those nights I spent cleaning hospitals in London. I would work from 11 at night until 7 in the morning, my mop moving in endless circles, my back bent, my eyes burning with exhaustion. And when I got home, I would make breakfast for Michael, make sure he had everything he needed for school, kiss him on the forehead as he ran out the door. Then I would sleep for a few hours before waking up to do it all again. I never complained. I never let him see how tired I was. I wanted him to believe that everything was easy, that our life was good, that his mother was strong and capable and unbreakable. I wanted him to have that security because I never had it myself, and I knew how much it costs to grow up afraid. Dr. Patel is young and efficient, and she listens to my chest with a stethoscope that probably costs more than I earned in a month back in London. She asks me questions about my symptoms, my history, my medications. I answer as best I can, but my mind keeps drifting to Michael, to the closed door, to the fact that he is somewhere in this building, perhaps only steps away, and he has chosen not to come to me. When I was young, I used to read stories about mothers whose children abandoned them, and I would feel a distant pity, never imagining that I would one day understand that particular loneliness. I raised him better than this. I know I did. I taught him kindness and compassion and gratitude. I taught him by example, by the way I treated our neighbors, by the way I helped anyone who needed it even when I had nothing to give. Where did it go, all that teaching? When did he decide that the lessons of his childhood no longer applied to him? Dr. Patel orders tests, blood work, X-rays, a CT scan. She tells me she is concerned about my lungs, about the blood in my cough, about the weight I have lost without trying. She speaks carefully, the way doctors do when they suspect something they do not want to say out loud, and I nod and pretend to listen while inside I am screaming. I want my son. I need my son. Not his colleague, not his clinic, not his referrals and tests and cold professional efficiency. I need him to hold my hand and tell me he loves me, that I am not alone, that after everything I have done for him, he will be here for me now. But he is not here. He is in his office, perhaps with a patient who is someone else's mother, perhaps with Sarah on the phone discussing their dinner plans, perhaps doing nothing at all except avoiding the inconvenient truth that his mother is down the hall, coughing blood, waiting for him to remember she exists. The tests take hours. I am wheeled from room to room, X-rayed and scanned, my veins punctured for blood samples, my body examined by machines that hum and click and see right through me. Through it all, I think about the stethoscope. I bought it for Michael when he graduated from medical school, a beautiful thing, real silver, engraved with his name and the date. I saved for months to afford it, skipping lunches, walking instead of taking the bus, putting aside every spare coin until I had enough. When I gave it to him, his eyes filled with tears, and he hugged me so tightly I could feel his heart beating against mine. I will use it every day, he said. I will think of you every time I listen to someone's heart. I wonder if he still has it. I wonder if he ever thinks of me when he presses it against a patient's chest. I wonder if he has forgotten that his own mother's heart is breaking. By late afternoon, I am back in the examination room, exhausted and cold, waiting for results I already know will not be good. The door opens, and for one desperate moment I think it might be Michael, finally come to see me, finally remembering who I am. But it is not. It is a nurse I have not seen before, an older woman with warm brown skin and eyes that crinkle when she smiles. Her name tag says Carla. She looks at me, really looks at me, not through me or past me but directly at me, and something in her gaze makes my eyes fill with tears. "How are you holding up, sweetheart?" she asks, and her voice is soft, accented with something Caribbean, warm as sunlight. I try to answer but find that I cannot. The tears spill over, rolling down my cheeks, and I am ashamed of my weakness, ashamed of crying in front of a stranger, ashamed of being this broken old woman who cannot even speak. Carla does not hesitate. She crosses the room and sits beside me on the examination table, and she puts her arm around my shoulders, and she holds me while I cry. She does not tell me everything will be all right. She does not offer false comfort or empty platitudes. She simply holds me, this stranger, this woman I have never met before today, and her kindness is so unexpected that it breaks something loose inside me, some dam I have been building for years. I cry for my son who will not see me. I cry for the years I spent sacrificing everything, only to be abandoned when I needed him most. I cry for the girl I was in London, the young mother with so many dreams, who believed that love was enough and hard work would be rewarded. I cry for all the meals I skipped, all the nights I did not sleep, all the parts of myself I gave away piece by piece until there was nothing left but this hollowed-out shell of a woman, sitting in a cold room, held by a stranger while her own son cannot be bothered to walk down the hall. "It's all right," Carla murmurs, her hand rubbing circles on my back. "Let it out. You've been carrying too much for too long." She does not know me. She does not know my story, my son, my decades of invisible labor. But somehow she sees me anyway, sees the weight I have been carrying, sees the loneliness that has become my constant companion. And her seeing me is more than Michael has offered in years. I think about all the patients he treats, all the strangers whose hearts he mends, all the lives he saves with the skills I paid for with my own blood and sweat and tears. I made him a doctor. I gave him everything he needed to become this healer, this respected physician, this man whose name is on the building. And he cannot walk 20 steps to check on his own mother. The door opens again, and this time it is Dr. Patel, her face carefully neutral in that way doctors learn to hide bad news. She looks at me, still in Carla's arms, and something flickers in her eyes. "Mrs. Harrison," she says, "I have your test results. May I speak with you privately?" Carla squeezes my shoulder and starts to rise, but I grab her hand. "Please stay," I say, and my voice is steady now, stronger than I feel. "I have no one else." Carla nods and settles back beside me, and Dr. Patel takes a breath and begins to explain. The words wash over me in waves: advanced lung cancer, metastasized, treatment options limited, quality of life considerations. I hear them but do not hear them, my mind floating somewhere above my body, looking down at this scene as if it is happening to someone else. This cannot be real. This cannot be how my story ends. I am 60 years old, and I have never smoked a cigarette in my life, and I have survived things that should have broken me, and I cannot be dying in a hospital where my own son works while he sits in his office and refuses to see me. Does he know? I hear myself ask. Dr. Harrison. My son. Does he know about this? Dr. Patel's expression shifts slightly, uncomfortable, and she glances at Carla before answering. "I will make sure all relevant parties are informed," she says, which is not an answer at all. I want to laugh. Relevant parties. I am a relevant party. I am his mother, the woman who made him, who raised him, who gave him every opportunity he ever had. And now I am reduced to a relevant party, a medical file, a problem to be handled by someone else. The absurdity of it hits me all at once, and I do laugh, a small broken sound that turns into a cough that turns into gasping for air while Carla holds me and Dr. Patel calls for assistance. When I can breathe again, I am lying flat on the examination table, an oxygen mask over my face, machines beeping around me. Carla is still there, her hand wrapped around mine, and her presence is the only anchor I have in this storm. I think about Michael's childhood medicine box, a small wooden thing I bought at a charity shop when he was 7. He used to keep his play doctor supplies in it: a plastic stethoscope, bandages, a toy thermometer. He would make me and his stuffed animals be his patients, examining us with such seriousness, prescribing imaginary pills and gentle care. "You'll feel better soon, Mum," he would say, pressing his small hand to my forehead. "I'm going to take care of you. That boy is gone." I do not know when I lost him, whether it was gradual or sudden, whether there was a moment I could have held on to him more tightly and kept him from slipping away. All I know is that the man who walks these halls is not the boy I raised. He wears my son's face, speaks with my son's voice, but his heart has hardened into something I do not recognize. Hours pass. The winter sun sets outside the window, and the room grows darker. Carla's shift ends, but she does not leave. She sits beside me, talking softly about her own children, her grandchildren, her life in Jamaica before she came to America. She tells me about her mother, who died when Carla was young, and how she still misses her every day, still reaches for the phone to call her before remembering she is gone. A mother's love is the first love we ever know, she says. It shapes everything that comes after. Some people are lucky enough to understand that. Others take too long to learn. I listen to her voice and think about the prescription paper that sits unsigned somewhere in this building, the simple document that my son could have written in 30 seconds, the small act of care he could not be bothered to provide. I made him a doctor, but I could not make him a good man. That is my failure, the one I will carry to my grave. Near midnight, when the hospital is quiet and the halls are empty, there is a knock on my door. It opens slowly, and there he is. Michael. My son. He stands in the doorway, still wearing his white coat, his face tired and older than I remember. He does not move toward me. He does not speak. He just stands there, looking at me with an expression I cannot read, and I realize that I do not know him anymore. This stranger in the doorway is not the boy I raised. He is someone else entirely, someone shaped by success and ambition and the slow erosion of everything I tried to teach him. Mum, he says finally, and his voice cracks on the word. I didn't know it was this serious. They just told me. I look at him, my beautiful boy, my life's work, and I feel something I have never felt before, nothing. The love is still there, buried deep, but it is covered now by layers of disappointment and grief so thick I cannot reach it. You could have come sooner, I say. I was here all day. I asked for you. He looks away, unable to meet my eyes, and I see the shame in his face, the guilt he has been carrying, the knowledge that he has failed me in ways that cannot be undone. I was busy, he says, but the excuse sounds hollow even to him. There were patients, emergencies, I couldn't just. He stops, because we both know the truth. He could have come. He chose not to. I think about all the nights I stayed awake so he could sleep. I think about the meals I skipped so he could eat. I think about the jobs I worked, the bones I broke, the dreams I deferred, all for this moment, all for the chance to see my son become something extraordinary. And he did. He became a doctor. He healed strangers and saved lives and built a clinic with his name on the door. He did everything I ever wanted for him except the one thing that mattered most. He forgot how to love the person who made him possible. I raised a doctor, but somewhere along the way, I lost my son. Mum, I'm sorry, he says, and there are tears in his eyes now, real tears, the first I have seen from him in years. I've been so caught up in everything, the practice, Sarah, trying to build something. I forgot what mattered. I forgot you. His words hang in the air between us, and I want to reach for them, want to believe they can bridge the distance that has grown so vast. But I am too tired. Too sick. Too broken by years of being forgotten. I made you a doctor, I say softly, and my voice sounds strange in the quiet room. I gave you everything I had. My youth. My health. My savings. I thought if I sacrificed enough, you would remember. You would take care of me when I needed it. You promised, Michael. You promised I would never suffer again. He crosses the room then, finally, and he kneels beside my bed, and he takes my hand in both of his. His hands are warm, skilled, the hands of a healer. But they cannot heal this. No surgery can repair the bond between us, no medication can restore the years we have lost. I know, he whispers. I know I promised. I've broken so many promises, Mum. I don't know how to fix it. I look at his face, so close to mine, and I see the boy he used to be underneath the man he has become. I see the child who promised to take care of me, who played doctor in our tiny flat, who hugged me so tightly when I gave him that silver stethoscope. He is still in there somewhere. But I am too tired to reach him anymore. You could not give me the medicine I needed most, I say, and my voice is gentle now, not accusing. Not prescriptions. Not treatments. Just your presence. Your care. Your love. He bows his head, and I feel his tears falling onto my hand, hot and real. I'm here now, he says. I'm here, Mum. I won't leave again. I want to believe him. Part of me does believe him, the part that will always be his mother, that will always love him despite everything. But I know the truth that he does not want to face. He is here now because I am dying. He will stay because the guilt would destroy him if he left. And when I am gone, he will mourn and grieve and perhaps even change, but it will be too late for me to see it. The medicine I needed was his love, freely given, not extracted by crisis. The medicine I needed was to matter to him before I was dying. That medicine he could never give. Carla slips quietly from the room to give us privacy, and I am grateful for her, this stranger who showed me more kindness in one day than my son has shown in years. I will think of her often in whatever time I have left. I will remember her warmth, her steady presence, the way she held me when I could not hold myself. Sometimes the family we need is not the family we made. Sometimes love comes from unexpected places, and we must be grateful for it wherever we find it. I squeeze Michael's hand, and I tell him I forgive him, because that is what mothers do. We forgive. We love. We let go. I made him a doctor, and he could not give me medicine. But perhaps, in the end, he will give me something else. Perhaps he will become the man I always believed he could be. Perhaps my death will teach him what my life could not. The night stretches on, and Michael stays beside me, holding my hand, whispering apologies that come too late but still mean something. I drift in and out of sleep, my body surrendering to the exhaustion of a lifetime. In my dreams, I am young again, standing in our flat in Brixton, watching a small boy with serious brown eyes tell me he wants to be a doctor. And I kneel beside him, and I take his hands, and I say, "You will be one. You will be the best doctor this country has ever seen." And he smiles, that beautiful smile, and he promises to take care of me forever. In my dream, he keeps that promise. In my dream, I never sit alone in a cold hospital hallway, waiting for someone to remember I exist. In my dream, love is enough, and sacrifice is rewarded, and children never forget the hands that raised them. I hold on to that dream as long as I can, because it is all I have left now, the memory of who we were before we became who we are.